Okay, folks, now it's been a month since I worked this horse on the log, so it's a pretty good deal for people to see, because I know a lot of people all over the country, you don't get to work your colts every day. Well, I don't want to work my colts every day. I'd like to work them 2 or 3 times a week in a perfect world, but it's not always that way. So what I want you to see is what really happens after a month of this colt not doing anything. Now, he's turned 2. And once again, I'm not riding him because he's not right up here. He's still very immature. And I notice now he's got a little change in his demeanor. And I think 2 reasons. One is he's teething. And so when they start cutting teeth, it changes things. And you'll probably notice his tail's gone. I didn't do that on purpose. And this is a question I'd like to put out to everybody that's watching these videos. Our friend that was watching him said this horse backed up to the corral. And the horse next door, this horse backed up, and that horse next door chewed his tail off. So it tells me that this horse purposely wanted it done, or he'd have not been there. Get it? So the question is, I'd like to know, why do horses chew off another horse's tail all of a sudden? I mean, I don't get it. If you could break it down into less than 2 syllables per word, so that I can share it with regular people. And anyway, that's the trivia question of the day. So now I'm going to put him on the logs, and I'm going to do it exactly like I did the first time. And then I'm going to ask him to walk side pass all the way around both directions. That's where we're headed. I heard him hit both logs. And we've talked about Linda Tellington Jones, and she had this figured out. She would tap on their feet, and then when they came back, they paid more attention. Well, I think it's just a simple fact of a horse paying more attention. Now, he knows what I want. He just flicked his right ear. I'm in both eyes. Now I'm going to step to the left side of the horse and put all the pressure on, and give him direction, which is that, and ask him to leave. Here it comes. Into pressure. Now, folks, I want you to watch it. My hands are trying to go with his feet. As he makes it with his feet, I'm giving the slack back. Bend his nose to get the hip. He keeps hitting the poles because he wants to do that. So this is reality of what a month off does. And I'm not buying into any of it. In other words, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I know what the end result's going to be. That's into pressure. This is that demeanor change I've had. Well, why? We ain't going to therapy to find out. I'm just telling him he needs to move. And for those of you that like reading a horse, you can read this horse and see why I'm not riding him. I've got plenty of time to ride him. I'm fortunate at this time in my life that I can actually take my time. Now, he stopped dead on where he started, so that means he's thinking. Hindquarter needs to catch up at the forehand. This is A in the log world. This is the first thing that has to be good. Remember to try to keep your hand open. And do not do this. That's mechanical. Keep afloat in that rein. I'm riding a hackamore horse here, folks. I can't be getting him dull to this. At this stage, feet don't stop, can't touch a log. Now I'm going to go the other way. Brand new world. I don't want to raise my left hand. When this is done correctly, I won't have to move in this corral. Now the other way, both eyes, straight spine. When I step over here, his right ear should look where he wants to go. Into pressure, nothing personal. Release. Hip. This isn't side passing if their hip is cocked. In other words, that's side passing. Anything less than that is a diagonal. Hip. Other way. Now, I've talked about perfection before. You notice I've had to walk around here. In the perfect world, I'm going to be able to do this. That's where you need to go. That's where you need to go. Still. So don't be afraid to practice and see where you're at. I'm still having to raise my hand, but I've got rid of the spur. Hindquarter. Trying to keep my feet still. Hindquarter. Other direction. Meaning you got to give them direction. That much you have to do. Pressure. Release. Pressure. Release. Good. Okay, that's it. Now, I'm going to prepare him for the next time I work him. Because I told you, we've talked about perfection. I've got a pretty good deal going here. So now, I'm going to get him ready for the rear end, front end. Because if you'll notice, I had to keep banging on that hip. So I need the hip to move without the front feet to move. Now, this is all about the position of your body compared to their eye. They've got this 180 thing going on, and you need to be in the place that lets them know what you're after. So I'm in front of the eye, even, and behind the eye. I'm holding the front end, and I'm asking the hindquarter. Holding the front end, asking the hindquarter. Bump the front end, hindquarter. He honestly thinks he needs a side pass, see, so I'm teaching him the difference. Into pressure. Help him out. Now, I'm going to ask for the hip. There's the start. And it was the correct direction. Ask for the hip. Correct direction. One more time. Passing the eye. Dead even. Now you're going to find out with all horses, over time, it's going to differ to this angle from the eye. Every horse is going to be a little different. That's why I'm doing this video. This particular horse, I'm trying to find out where that place is. This hasn't happened with him and I before, so I'm going to step over here and ask. I have a loop in my lead rope so that he can sin if he needs to. He's loading up. Now, I'll let him know that was correct. And something to note, I just talked to Wes in New Mexico. He's got an Andalusian. He was talking about how they got this, they're pretty tough. Well, they are tough. The reason they're tough is because the dinks died years ago in Spain when they turned them out with the bulls. All right, now I'm going to ask for the hip. If you'll notice, I've got a loop in the lead rope. You don't ever do this holding on to their head. That's the same thing as pulling on their mouth. So I'm going to cross that line of the eye, and ask the hip to move over. I'm seeing the horse wondering what I need. He crossed over behind. Front leg did move. Okay, once again, that's a start. Now I'm going to go to the other side. Loop in the lead rope. Anticipation. On a colt, there's nothing wrong with anticipation. I'm done. That's how it starts. Now, I've got to do the forehand. When I've got the hindquarter taken care of, he's going to plant his front feet and just walk around his front feet. And his front feet will just barely move. Now for the forehand, I'm coming in from behind the eye. Get rid of most of the lead rope. Have a loop in your rope and be ready to bump. So you got to do the math to know that you can bump the horse back. Because when you start this, the first thing they want to do is go forward. So now I'm going to come in with my hand behind the eye and ask the horse to move over. That's it. Untrack him. The reason I'm untracking him is to get the mind to change again. Now, if there's a trick to it, when you're on this side, use your left hand. When you're on that side, use your right hand. Do the math on the lead rope. I can bump this horse if I need to. I'm coming in from behind the eye, which typically would make him run off, but I've got my left hand here to bump him to stop. So now I'm going to ask him to move his front foot. That's backwards. There, that moved. Now the reason he went backwards is because the angle of my hand was far enough into his eye and his brain that he needed to go backwards. So I needed to move my hand to change the angle. So that's it. That's how far it goes today. If there's a whole lot of time spent with a horse, it's letting them grow up and then spending quality minutes with them when you're teaching them something. And then build on that. I've mentioned it before, but cowboys typically work by the month, so it didn't like we're going anywhere. We're not on a manufacturing line where we got to do things really fast. But Leon and Jillian, I want to thank you, Deb and I want to thank you for taking good care of us in Australia, because I'll tell you, we wouldn't have never got her done without you. And there was a lot of people involved, but he was the catalyst that got us over there and got us going. And Bruce, our friend down south of him, we're going to catch up with you, partner, next year. So thank you. Okay, folks, we got to do a little trivia. The lead rope. When you tuck it in your belt, always make sure that the tail of the rope is longer than the loop. If it isn't, and you get caught up in the heat of battle and you start to pulling on your rope, you just tied yourself to your colt. And if you do the math on where this particular knot's going to end up, this is about where it is. So that's kind of ICU got written all over it. Thank you.